We're now going to look at two familiar edit options for those of you coming from earlier versions of Final Cut Pro, the Insert and Overwrite edit. Insert and Overwrite edits can be performed using either the skimmer or playhead location in the timeline. Let's first look at how to execute these edits using the playhead, then we'll look at how to perform them using the skimmer. In the timeline, locate the first Texas 2 shot and play the clip until you hear the speaker finish his first line, "We win 90% of the battles."
We win 90% of the battles.
The playhead is now parked after his first line. This is the frame we'll insert a new shot. In the event library, select the battle footage keyword collection, then locate the cannon loading clip. Create a selection around the artillery crew prepping a cannon for firing. Make sure the selection duration is roughly 2 seconds as indicated by the tooltip. In the toolbar, click the Insert the selected clip in the primary storyline button or press W on your keyboard. The clip is inserted at the current playhead location. The Texas 2 shot is split at the playhead and the portion of the clip to the right side of the inserted clip is moved 2 seconds later. Play the edit back to see how it looks.
We win 90% of the battles. We just lose the war.
Let's undo that last edit because I want to point out something that, unless you're aware of it, can cause some confusion. Skim over the drills clip until the skimmer is positioned at roughly the halfway point of the clip. You don't need to be precise with your skimmer position, as I'm only having you do this to make a point. Notice we can see both the skimmer and the playhead, and both are parked at two different timeline locations. However, if you move your mouse out of the timeline area, the skimmer goes away and only the playhead is visible. As soon as your mouse re-enters the timeline, the skimmer reappears. When the skimmer is not visible and you execute any of these three edit types from the toolbar or edit menu, the current playhead position will always be used as the edit endpoint. However, if you skim to any frame, then use the keyboard shortcuts to execute one of the three edit types, the skimmer position will be used. Move your mouse back into the drills clip so the skimmer reappears. Now press W to execute an insert edit. Notice this time the skimmer position was used, not the playhead. In Final Cut Pro's new edit economy, the skimmer is primary and the playhead is secondary when it comes to executing edits using keyboard shortcuts. Undo that last edit by pressing Command Z so we can perform an overwrite edit on the same clip. One thing you'll notice is there's no button for an overwrite edit in the toolbar, so you need to choose Overwrite from the edit menu, or press D on your keyboard. Overwrite edits do what they advertise, that is, they overwrite pre-existing content in the timeline at the skimmer or playhead position. If you play back this edit, you'll notice the second half of the drills clip and the first part of the first Texas 2 shot was overwritten by the 2-second cannon clip in the event browser.
Of the battles.
Historically, these edits have been useful because they allow you to add content without changing the overall duration of the project. In Final Cut Pro 10, overwrite edits are much less relevant or necessary because of an entirely new edit paradigm called connected clips, which, as you'll see, gives you much more flexibility when adding and manipulating clips in the timeline. Press Command Z to undo that last edit. To understand the concept of connected clips, you'll first need to understand what Final Cut Pro calls a storyline. In a traditional timeline, you would edit your clips into tracks. No doubt this is the visual metaphor you are most familiar with if you've used previous versions of Final Cut Pro or other nonlinear editing programs. However, in Final Cut Pro 10, there are no tracks. For example, the three clips that currently occupy the timeline are not sitting in a track. You do not see the familiar accoutrements of track-based editing, such as track labels, visibility toggles, patch panels, and the like. When clips are added to the timeline, they are added to the primary storyline, which is represented visually by this dark horizontal strip. A storyline is therefore much more like a container for video and audio, but it can also contain just video or just audio, and even text and graphics. In terms of workflow, let me draw an analogy. The old track paradigm is much more akin to traveling along a multi-lane US highway. You can only drive so fast, you must stay in your own lane until it's safe to change lanes, and you must always be mindful of where other vehicles are to avoid collisions. Final Cut Pro's new storyline paradigm, on the other hand, is much more like traveling along a single-lane highway of the future, where the traffic auto-flows around your car and the lane itself prevents collisions with other cars. Kind of like traveling in Tom Cruise's Lexus in the movie Minority Report. With storylines now a part of your lexicon, we can now look at one of the more powerful edit options in Final Cut Pro X, the connected clip. Let's add another interview to our storyline, then we'll connect some B-roll footage to it. In the Selects keyword collection, locate the Dave interview or 1 clip. Press E on your keyboard to append this interview to the end of the last clip in the timeline. Now press Shift-Z to fit all the clips to the window. Press Shift-S to turn on audio skimming. Then locate the frame where Dave says, "thousands and thousands of people." Set your playhead at the skimmer position by clicking once. In the battle footage keyword collection, locate the Union firing line clip. Set the out point of your range after the camera pans over to the smoke. Using the duration tooltip as your reference, drag the start of the range until the value reads roughly 2 seconds. To connect this clip to the storyline, click the Connect the selected clip to the primary storyline button or press Q on your keyboard. In the timeline, the clip is placed above the interview. If you look closely at the head of the connected clip, you'll see a vertical line extending downward and intersecting the clip below it. This visual identifies a connected relationship between these 2 clips and helps prevent them from losing their established alignments during editorial changes. To see this feature in action, let's perform a simple trim at the head of the Dave interview clip. Press Command 3 to make the timeline active, then press your up arrow to move the playhead to the beginning of the interview clip. Play the clip and pause right after he says, We're going to trim this out. Press A to call up the selection tool. Place your cursor over the edit point between the Confederacy firing line and the Dave interview. A trim icon will appear. As you move your mouse over the edit, a tiny film strip graphic will flip-flop depending on what side of the edit your mouse is over. Make sure the film strip is pointing toward the interview. Click and drag to the right, and without releasing your mouse, drag to the left. Notice as you do this, the connected clip stays anchored or connected to its original frame, regardless of how the underlying clip is being affected. Drag to the right until the head of the clip snaps to the playhead position, then release your mouse. Press your spacebar to play back the edit, including the connected B-roll material.
We've done events like this in front of thousands and thousands of people. So
now let's connect an audio-only clip to our storyline. In the event browser, locate the Union firing line reverse clip. Create a selection around the Union officer yelling "fire" and include the guns discharging. Press your backslash key to preview the selection. In the timeline, we'll need to locate the frame in the connected clip where the same officer yells "fire." This frame will be much easier to locate if we disable the interview clip. Right-click on the interview clip and choose Disable, or press V on your keyboard. Disabled clips in the timeline appear in a muted gray color. Position your skimmer over the connected clip, then press Command+ to zoom in for a closer look at the waveform. This yellow peak is the same officer yelling "fire." Click once to set your playhead at this frame. In the event browser, the clip has both video and audio associated with it. We only want to connect the audio. In the toolbar, click the down-facing arrow to the right of the 3 edit buttons. This menu allows you to edit all video and audio, the default, just video, or just audio. For you experienced Final Cut Pro users, this menu is a distant relative to the patch panel found in Final Cut Pro 7 and earlier. Choose Audio Only or press Option 3. Notice the edit buttons have graphically changed to inform you that only the audio portion of the clip in the event browser will be connected, inserted, or appended to the timeline. With your playhead still parked at the frame you want to connect to, click the Connect the selected clip into the primary storyline, or press Q. In the timeline, the audio-only clip is connected below the primary storyline, and all the same rules apply when trimming the clip it's connected to. Play back the edit to see how it works. The audio clip is off just a bit. To help us visually align these clips, let's change the clip appearance. In the lower right of the interface, click the icon that looks like a light switch. A pop-up window appears, allowing you to change how your clips are presented. Take a few moments to click through them. Depending on the type of work you're doing, one appearance may be better suited for your specific task than another. In our case, since we need maximum emphasis on the audio waveform, choose the icon on the far left. With a larger waveform, we can now clearly see the peaks and valleys that represent the audio's dynamic range. Notice, however, that when you skim over your clips, the video is displayed in the viewer, even though the timeline looks like it has only audio clips in it. The video portion of the clip is just hidden from view. As for the color coding of the clips, any audio clip that has been detached from its original source clip or any audio that exists as a standalone clip, such as a sound effect or music clip, will appear in green. Audio that is still attached to its source video appears in blue. In a later lesson, we'll look at when it makes editorial sense to detach the audio directly in the timeline. Final Cut Pro X gives you several ways to move a connected clip. You can select it and drag it right or left. A tooltip informs you how many frames you're moving it from its original location. You can also nudge the clip using your keyboard. Press the comma key to nudge the clip left and the period key to nudge the clip right. Holding the Shift key and pressing the comma or period key will nudge the clip in 10-frame increments. Nudge the sound clip until the two peaks where the Union officer yells fire are visually aligned. Don't worry about being precise at this point. A feature that often helps when doing audio work is the solo button. Make sure the green connected audio clip is selected. In the upper right of the timeline, you'll see an S with a pair of headphones. Click this button and all audio content except the audio that is selected will be muted. Play back the clip again, then keep nudging the clip until you're happy with its alignment to the picture. For precise alignment, you can move the connected audio clip in increments of 1/80th of a frame. Just hold down your Option key and press the comma or period key, and the clip will move 1/80th of a frame in either direction. Final Cut Pro gives you sample accurate manipulation of your connected audio clips. Turn off soloing by pressing Option S. While we're at it, let's turn back on the visibility for the Dave interview clip. Select it, then press V. Press Shift Z to zoom out on your timeline. Also, let's set the clip appearance back to video and audio. Choose the third icon from the left. Before I end this lesson, I wanted to show you an amazing new feature that gives you the ability to sync audio to picture if you've recorded your sound on a separate recording device from your main camera. The industry term for this is called dual system recording. For example, I shot the documentary footage used in this tutorial on a Canon DSLR. The built-in mic on the camera is less than ideal for achieving usable sound, especially outdoors, so we used a professional Sony lavalier mic connected to an H4n digital recorder. For reference audio, we recorded using a Rode directional mic mounted to the top of the camera. This additional audio reference track is important. Without it, Final Cut Pro will have nothing to sync to, and you'll have to rely on the traditional method of syncing using a slate. That's why it's always a good idea to record a slate at the head of each new take. In the event library, select the Reenactors event icon, then enter Steve in the search field. The two Steve interview clips are quickly located. As you can see from the icons, one clip is the video, which includes the reference audio track, and the other is the audio recorded using the digital audio recorder. Play each clip. You can hear a qualitative difference between them.
I'm an American, and I'm an American, and
Before we sync the clips, select the audio-only clip, the one with the speaker icon, then press Command 4 to reveal the audio inspector. In the channel configuration area, set the file to mono. To sync the clips, hold down the Command key and select the Steve Interview video clip, the one with the film strip icon. Then select the Steve Interview audio clip, the one with the speaker icon. From the clip menu, choose Synchronize Clips, or press Option Command G. In the event library, a separate clip is created with the word synchronized followed by the name of the primary video clip. Select the synchronized clip and play through it if you want. By default, the audio you hear is from the on-camera reference track.
I'm an American.
But we're about to change that. Also notice in the upper left of the thumbnail is a badge that tells you this is no ordinary clip, but a synchronized clip. Append this interview clip to the end of the timeline by pressing E on your keyboard. Then press Shift-Z to zoom out. In the timeline, the clip is identified with a badge and the words Synchronized Clip. Now for the cool part. Click on the badge to step into the clip. The clip opens up into its own window where you can see both the camera reference audio in blue and the digital audio recorder in green. If you compare both audio waveforms, you'll see that the algorithm did an amazing job of matching the two audio sources. If you look closely at the head of the green clip, you'll see a connection was established with the primary video track. Play the clip back and you'll notice the reference audio track gets playback priority. In order to force playback of the cleaner audio, you'll need to change the channel configuration. To return to the main project storyline, click the left-facing arrow in the upper left of the timeline, or choose Go Back in Timeline History from the View menu. Select the synchronized clip. In the channel configuration area, you'll see the original camera audio in blue and the external recorder audio in green. Uncheck the box for the camera mic, and only the audio from the recorder will play back with the video. Press your spacebar to play back.
Because it's just something you need to do. If you care about where you live, then you want the representation of its history and the things about it to be told the right way.
Wow, if you're not sufficiently impressed, then I'm not sure what will impress you. This feature alone will save you hours of manually syncing your footage. In the next lesson, we'll look at the myriad of ways Final Cut Pro gives you for refining your edits with its revolutionary trimming tools.